When one nation controls the minerals that power every modern technology, how stable can the global system truly be? China now dominates nearly every stage of the rare earth supply chain, from mining to refining to magnet production, shaping the foundation of global industry itself. With 70% of mining and more than 90% of refining under Beijing's control, rare earths have become the quiet currency of geopolitical power. This video explains what is really happening and why it matters. China's rare earth dominance was not an accident. In the 1980s, while Western economies chased deregulation, Beijing identified critical minerals as the strategic fuel of the next century. It subsidized mining, trained metallurgists, and tolerated environmental damage that other nations refused to bear. By the early 2000s, China had built a vertically integrated empire, controlling not only extraction, but also the refineries and magnet plants that turned ore into industrial muscle. The first warning appeared in 2010, when China restricted exports to Japan during a diplomatic dispute. That single move exposed how one nation could disrupt global manufacturing simply by closing its customs gates. The lesson was clear. Who refines, defines. In April 2025, Beijing imposed new export controls on key rare earth compounds and magnets. Licenses became mandatory, audits expanded, and monthly quotas were tightened. Within 1 quarter, magnet exports fell by more than 70%. Electric vehicle factories in Europe delayed production. American defense contractors reported shortages of guidance components. China had converted its industrial position into geopolitical leverage. The minerals once considered a background detail were now frontline instruments of power. Looking at recent data and policy shifts, 3 forces clearly define the rare earth landscape: dominance, diffusion, and resilience. Dominance. China's grip on more than 90% of refining gives it control over price, availability, and even innovation speed. The West may mine elsewhere, but the ore often still travels to China for processing. Diffusion. Allied countries are trying to diversify. In 2025, the United States and Australia launched an $8.5 billion initiative to build new refineries. Yet the challenge is scale and time. A decade may be required to reach China's capacity. Resilience. Corporations are redesigning motors and batteries to reduce or replace rare earth use. Recycling efforts are growing, but cost and efficiency remain barriers. These 3 forces define a new reality. Rare earths are no longer commodities. They are nodes of sovereignty. Every factory line now depends on the political stability of a single ecosystem thousands of miles away. As demand for electric vehicles, artificial intelligence hardware, and renewable energy multiplies, the next decade will unfold along 3 broad paths. Baseline scenario: managed dependency. Alternative suppliers expand slowly. Prices remain volatile, but disruptions are short-lived. China retains dominance, the world adapts to dependence, and incremental diversification continues. Acceleration scenario: strategic rebalancing. Western alliances coordinate aggressive investments in midstream processing. By the late 2020s, Japan, Australia, and the United States capture 1/3 of global refining. Costs rise, but resilience finally improves. Disruption scenario: systemic shock. A geopolitical crisis or unilateral export freeze triggers severe shortages. Automotive, energy, and defense sectors stall simultaneously. Global inflation accelerates and strategic panic sets in. Each trajectory exposes the same constant. The world's most advanced technologies depend on the planet's least distributed resources. 3 deep-seated vulnerabilities define the structure of this crisis. Concentration risk. When one nation refines 9/10 of the world's supply, any policy shift becomes a global event. Bottleneck risk. Even if mining diversifies, refining and magnet manufacturing remain narrow choke points. Building redundancy takes years. Value capture risk. Countries that mine without processing lose both revenue and control. Value escapes upstream while dependency deepens downstream. In strategic terms, these are not supply problems. They are architecture problems. Industrial policy and national security now occupy the same blueprint. The rare earth squeeze is not only about metals, it is about the power to decide who builds the technologies that shape civilization. If China maintains control, innovation elsewhere may slow, and strategic autonomy may vanish behind export licenses. If diversification succeeds, the world gains resilience, but at the cost of years, capital, and environmental strain. What happens next will define the economic hierarchy of the 2030s. If strategy, history, economics, and finance shape the world, this is where they converge. Subscribe now and join the conversation.